Hey, it's Denny. Welcome back to the vlog series. This week we're looking at my first week back at work for 2024 and also what I got up to leading up to those days. Usually on my last day of my break, I will go through and try and find things to eat for the rest of the week. So most of my days are spent planning on meals and also organizing groceries for the week ahead. My inspiration does come from different cookbooks, different websites, and also different TikTok and Instagram accounts. If you have any recommendations on who I should follow and which recipes to look out for, I'm very keen to hear your recommendations. Here's Nugget also waiting for her morning walk, so let's go for a morning walk. I usually take her around the block. We have a number of parks and different walking paths, which is really nice in the estate that we're living in. Usually it's a quick walk, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, but it was a very hot day today, so we decided to call it quick before we went out for yumcha. Went out for yumcha with my partner's parents and family, and we always get staples and also the goods that you usually get at yumcha. But for me, I feel like yumcha is all the same. I've never really had really good yumcha, so if you've got any good suggestions for any good yumcha places, definitely let me know. We didn't really do much for the rest of the day, and it's pretty much just chilling before I go back to work. So you already know this is my morning routine from the last video. I usually get my daily greens and gut performance in the morning. It definitely helps me vitalize for the morning and get ready for all the work that's come. I also make drip coffee for myself, and it's something that I've been into a lot lately. I honestly have no idea what I'm doing with this, but honestly it tastes really good. And if you're someone who's really into drip coffee or black coffee and have some recommendations or even tips, let me know and I'm definitely going to try it out. Partner also has a nice matcha every morning, which I make for her. She uses this Kohiki matcha from Zen Wonders. Me, myself, I don't really drink that much matcha, but one of our friends recommended this sort of brand to her, and also she's a really big fan of matcha, so it's definitely got to be really good. I work as a CSM at a tech company. My job is remote, so we don't have an office here in Melbourne yet, which is really nice. I kind of don't miss all this sort of traffic and crowd of the morning and evening peak hours, so it's really nice to just be working from home. My week pretty much consisted of going through emails, catching up with colleagues, reaching out to clients and setting up meetings, and pretty much planning for my quarter coming ahead. There's also quite a bit of flexibility working from home as well, so with it being a rainy day, you don't need to go out for lunch or anything. You can just stay home and whip up a quick lunch from whatever's in your fridge or pantry. Usually for lunch I like to make something a bit comforting, so for this day's lunch I made some stir-fried kimchi, bacon, fried egg on rice, and yeah, it's usually my go-to if we have any leftover rice and I just want to pretty much get rid of the rice before it goes off. For those who don't really like kimchi on its own, I do highly recommend sort of just stir frying it. I'm not too sure what makes it better when it's stir fried. It's probably all the sort of bacteria that gets cooked off, and it just has a better umami tasting flavor when you stir fry it and cook off the kimchi. This was sort of the introduction I had to kimchi before I started eating it without being stir fried, but hey, it's still a really delicious staple, and it's definitely something we always have in our fridge. This dish also varies from time to time. It really depends what's in our pantry and what's in the fridge and whatever we're trying to get rid of. I also like to add a drizzle of Kewpie mayo. I just think it adds a bit more creaminess to the dish itself. If you have also anything else you want to add, feel free to add any more sauces. Sriracha also works really well. If you don't have any sort of seaweed flakes in your pantry, I highly recommend you get some, just because I think it does add a bit of saltiness to the dish, and it also elevates the dish a bit further as well. Sundays during my lunch, I pretty much just spend most of the time just cooking things, either cooking my own lunch or just meal prepping for dinner time. It pretty much depends on my week, depending on how busy I am and how much time I have before my next meeting, or if I just have other chores to do in between. I usually just try and whip up something very quick, but being the first week, I did have a bit of time to cook for myself. As a customer success manager, I do have a number of meetings throughout the week. I'm sort of like a bridge between my clients and the organization, so I have a lot of interactions between different team members from different departments, and I also engage with them regularly for system and product knowledge, which I then share to my clients. It's a very versatile role where I'm doing sort of different sales responsibilities, support, and also finance as well, which I really like. Dinner is sometimes leftovers if we're feeling a bit lazy to cook. Other times our friends give us some food. In this case, our friend gave us a pie that she made with beef and veggies that day. It was really great. I'm not too sure what was in the pie itself, so I couldn't tell you how it was made or what was inside, but it was a really great pie that we ended up just having for dinner on one of these days. 2 days out of the working week, I also drop my partner off at the station before I go to work. We live around 10 minutes away from the nearest station, which is really nice. We also only have one car at the moment, which she isn't comfortable driving, so me being a great guy, I drop her off and pick her up at the station whenever she works in the city. I honestly don't miss having to wake up early to go into the city, but the only thing I do miss about the city is the great cafes I used to go to. Shout out to Paper Tiger in Queen Street and to Conversations on Equitable Lane. At the moment, I'm also doing a bit of training at work, so most mornings I do go through reading materials and also do a bit of market research to back my notes on. I've also been with this company for around 3 months now, so I'm still fairly new and still fairly a newbie, so most of the time I'm catching up with colleagues and trying to get as much knowledge and experience from them as much as possible. During my breaks, if I do have time, I also try to prep dinner. On this day, we were having roast veggies and a roast pork belly for dinner. So I would usually try and cook as much as possible and prep everything for later so I don't have to do much cooking. I usually like to make my own pork belly from scratch, but we had to settle for a pre-cooked pork belly slice because there wasn't much left at the supermarkets when we went. If I do have some time in the middle of all that, I also try to whip up a quick lunch. This usually is just avocado toast with bacon and sriracha and a bit of seasoning. Other than that, I try to keep it as simple as possible. I also got a standing desk when we first moved in, and I do think it's a really great investment if something you are looking for to change your desks. For me, working in meetings and also in a bout of doing admin, I find it really great for me to be able to stand up and do my work sometimes, or even stand up and do a presentation. With the role being so versatile, there isn't really any repetitive work which I really enjoy. It's always something different every day, and there's always new challenges, and yeah, that's what really makes me enjoy the role. Back to finishing the dinner prep. With my pork belly, I usually put a layer of sea salt flakes to help draw out the moisture while it's cooking to get a really crispy crackle. I usually go 180 degrees Celsius for 4 minutes with salt on. I then remove the salt and put it for 230 degrees Celsius for around 30 to 40 minutes until the crackle puffs up and becomes brown. I also checked on the roast quite regularly while I was cooking the pork belly as well. Because I was using the same oven, I didn't want the roast to burn. If you're also using the same oven, this does influence the cooking time of your pork belly, so just make sure you are keeping a constant eye on it. Pretty happy with how this turned out, but again, I'd probably prefer making my own pork belly from scratch instead of using something quick cook. It was a really great dinner, really healthy and refreshing, and it's something that we haven't had in a while, so it was really enjoyable. Usually after dinner and cleaning up, I try to fit in a workout. For me at the moment, it's just focusing on jogging and running, and also trying to get my cardio up again. I also try very hard to stay in shape, but our friends are always cooking for us, and I can't say no to the different cakes and food that they give us. That pretty much wraps up my first week back at work. Sorry if you were expecting a bit more, but I promise there is more to come. My first week was just me trying to get back into routine again and just trying to get everything up and running for the new year. Hope you enjoyed this video, and until next week, I'll catch you soon.